Hey everybody, thank you for joining me today. This is my first stream in a while. This whole week has been crazy at work, and of course with Thanksgiving, things just got a little out of hand, and I never got around to streaming after I think it was Wednesday, maybe either Tuesday or Wednesday that I streamed last. But today what we're gonna do is just doodle in Photoshop. So I'm gonna just kind of start drawing away on something and see where it goes. This stream will normally be from about 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. Eastern, uh, but I'm running pretty late today. So I'll probably do it for a couple hours, go to about maybe 9 a.m. and then stop it. But tomorrow morning, on Sunday morning at 4 a.m. Eastern, I will be back and I will be working on the coloring book again. And let me go ahead and jump over to my stream here. So I am working on the coloring book here, page 28. I'm just working on the thumbnail doodles here, trying to get like a nice dynamic page going. And once I have that laid out where I'm happy with it, we will be starting the page. And again, uh, coloring book stream is tomorrow. So let me close this down and save all the changes to it. I'm going to make a new image. And let's go with, hmm, you know what? Let's just make it, say, inches. How about a width of 9 and a height of 12? We'll keep it at 300 pixels per inch. There we go. And I'm going to jump over to this new stream panel that I've put together this morning, which I just pulled all the coloring book stuff off of it. I'm going to go ahead and turn off my webcam as well. There we go. So all we're going to see is the stream itself, the drawing on the page. Okie dokie. Let's see here. So I'm thinking it's about time for me to do a drawing of my original character, Battlereaper. And I just kind of feel like doing sort of a doodle of a scene. So right now I'm using my brush. It's at a size of 5 with 100% opacity and 25% flow. Let's see, just thinking about the layout here. Alright, I'm going to put him in like right about here. I'm zoomed out, just gonna start with a simple little sketch here. Let's see. So he's standing here. Don't have to get too detailed with it. Let's see, right hand over here. Holding the scythe. So Battlereaper is kind of like death, like the Grim Reaper, with a little bit of a variation to him. And I don't want to put too much curve into this scythe. Make it look all like a wet noodle or something. So let's see, maybe ease that off just a little bit. Okay. Now there was for a while, when I would draw the character, I actually gave him a fully straight scythe, but I didn't really like it. It's technically it's not really a scythe, and the way that they work, it was kind of goofy. It's still not necessarily the proper farm instrument that it's supposed to be, but it's a little stylized. Put that little cutout into the blade, which is not part of a normal scythe either. Okay, and then his other arm is kind of dropping down here and coming forward like so. I think he's actually going to have, wait a minute, no, that's all wrong. Too far forward. Let's see, maybe it actually goes back and then comes forward like this. But this hand will be holding a sword that he's got strapped to his hip. So just sketch things out real quick. The sword probably won't be that long. Just roughing things in right now. This is the doodle session. Alright, so he's on this kind of rough terrain. And I think there's going to be a lava flow right here. And the ground doesn't need to be necessarily even, but maybe it becomes a pool right here at the foreground. Yeah, and then it's going to be like a lava flow. So it's going to be flowing down to here. Maybe it gets broken up a little bit. So there's like some terrain going on over here. Maybe this terrain goes up a little bit higher. I don't want it to cross into that scythe and create any weird shapes right there. We'll take out that part of the flow, boost that up a little bit. So then the lava itself would kind of be like level right around there. We could even throw some chunks of rock into it that are still hanging on where it's flowing through. Maybe we move the flow over here and make it a little smaller because it's going back in the distance. Maybe there's some splashing going on right there. Yeah. And then another level here. Maybe this one actually drops off some. We'll see. That I don't like the look of that at all. Yeah, I don't like that. Okay. And maybe this lava flow is coming out of like the mouth of a skull that's carved into the mountain. I'll just put the shape of it there. Maybe have it curved in some more. I'll probably have to fix that up a bit more later. But let's just get the idea there first. So, sometime next year, I'm planning on putting out or putting together some free videos on YouTube that are going to be titled "How to Draw," and it's going to be sort of a drawing course, but instead of being a thing that's just aimed at making people that can draw better at drawing, it's more aimed at people that can't draw at all that want to. And so it's going to start out at the very beginning of, and it's going to be uh, geared towards um, using a pencil on paper and just kind of like learning how to get your ideas down on paper, starting all the way at the beginning with how to use the pencil, how to make marks on your paper. And it'll advance through different things, but the idea being that anyone that watches it and does the work should be able to draw something by the end of every session, and eventually draw anything they want. So I'm interested in seeing how that goes. But like I said, that'll be sometime next year that I start putting those out. And I mean, even this, what I've just done here, most of this is just knowledge of how things kind of look and flow. It's not particularly good, not, you know, nothing special to it. Um, let's see. So I think this is going to be, maybe he's got like some sort of a lair up here, and that skull is like the lava drainage. So let's just throw in a couple of pillars. We'll just suggest some uh, architectural elements up here. Maybe, let's see. Maybe something of like a sloping wall back here with some, what do you call those? The parapets, I think. I don't know. Just kind of see where we can get with this. Just sketch out some shapes. I'm not particularly thrilled with that. But we're getting to the top of the page there with, you know, not a lot of room to work up there. Maybe we'll leave that stuff out. Make my eraser nice and big. Maybe all we want up there is some like lava clouds, or not lava clouds, but like smoke atmosphere. Maybe even just kind of poof it all around. Maybe even do another one right there. Just, yeah. It'll just be like mostly for texture. Could even maybe bring a little bit of it in over here. Maybe. We'll see. So, again, just doodling away right here. Nothing special. Okay. And maybe there are some other forms going on back here in the rocks. Maybe there's another lift back here. Maybe there are even some caves. Maybe that's too big for a cave. Make it smaller. I mean, right now it would just look like could be a rock up there. Yeah, let's leave it like that for now. Let's just kind of throw some shapes down, some lines. Create something here out of nothing. And we'll figure out where we're going with it in a little bit. Just kind of letting things flow here. I think I'm going to let his legs actually just kind of blend into the scene. So like I won't necessarily be drawing his feet. Uh, maybe the ground itself. The ground should be rough. It's definitely not like a smooth area. The smoothest thing here is literally going to be that lava flow. So maybe some of it even looks like stalactites. Or maybe that's stalagmites. I always forget which ones are on top and which ones are on bottom. I think it's mites that are on the bottom. there's like a rhyme or something, like stalagmites might fall down, but they can't because they grow up from the ground, or something like that. Okay. I think we've got everything pretty well laid out. So there's this whole little doodle sketch to work from. Nothing too fancy just yet. So let's zoom in. Now we're at 100%. But let me back out just a little bit. There we go. So that's 66%. And we'll think about the character. So actually, I can do this since we're working on this. Let me go to something old. Let me open an old picture in my pencils. Where are you hiding? Here we go. All right. This might be the oldest drawing I actually have. I believe I signed it in 1999. Oh, actually, it's down there. I can barely see it. Let me see. 1998 is when I signed it. I'm pretty sure I drew it in like 96 or 97, though. All right, so what we're going to do, let's go to this 2 up. So now we can see that. That is my original Battlereaper character back in the day. When he was first created. And of course, yeah, his staff has all these little spawn skulls sticking all over it. Straight. Well, it's straight. It's got a spike at the end of it. But yeah, here we go. And I gave him an hourglass. Okay. So let's start putting him together. He's got these shoulder pads, armored shoulder pads that actually come kind of far out because he's got those leather bits on the inside. Let's make it arc down just a bit more than what I did originally. Bring it out around here. But it is mostly like this sort of flat, rounded form. Oh, now my eraser's way too big. Just something like that. Put one on the other side too. Now, the thing about the Battlereaper is that he is, well, he has a skull, very much like this typical Reaper, but he actually has a body. Now, in this one, I gave him, you can see his bony arms, and then his gloves give his fingers some form. But later on, as I was drawing him, he became sort of like a superhero, more like Ghost Rider than Death. So, little changes. How big is this guy? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, he would only be 5 heads tall like that. So let's make his head just a little bit smaller. Right about there. Bring it back over here. Take it back up just a touch. And so, yeah. So anyway, his head is a skull, but then the rest of his body is actually pretty muscular. 2, 3, 4, 5. Now he's about 6 heads tall. That's pretty good. I mean, we could make him bigger and stronger looking if we wanted to go like as high as, say, 9 heads for a totally heroic figure. But I think I like him as a little bit more of just an average kind of character. see. We'll bring his back and ribs in. Take these guys in here. Bring his hips out here a little bit more. Leg muscles and knees. Calves. Do the same thing over here. Just kind of toughen him up a little bit here. And like I said, I'm probably just going to run his feet into the ground. It's just the kind of look I want to have for this one. It's not that I can't draw the feet at all. But we'll see how that goes later on anyway. We'll get through one piece at a time here. You know what? Let's go with the straight staff like I used to do. Cause I don't want to put that curve into the scythe. Or maybe not quite so much of it anyway. Let's make this straight. And just keep it straight. There we go. Man, it's a fantasy drawing. You can do whatever you want with your fantasy drawings. I'm sure people will judge you, but you know what? Nothing is for everybody. Okie dokie. Let's see. Where do we want to go from here? Alright, so I gave him this chain that holds those together, and he's got these leather shoulder pieces. I'm going to bring these in. And I'll bring them in like right around his neck. Kind of like a tight cowl. And it curves in it. Just kind of gives him form right there. Now, in the later versions where I drew them, those have spikes, and I'm going to keep those in there. So let me put, it's got like one spike here, the second one right around here, and I would normally do a third one, but you wouldn't see it really in that angle, so let's just go ahead and put these on. Okay. And then his neck is not so much armored, but this is a leather. It's kind of like a leather turtleneck in a sense. If he weren't super heroic, it would probably choke the shit out of him. Alright, and we're going to go ahead and put that medallion right here. And the chain will connect right across here. And so the thing is, it looks like it's longer on the back side than on the front side, so that could just be because of this piece covering. I'm going to leave it like it is for now. We'll see how that goes. Now I'm going to change up that belt a little bit. I want to give him sort of like that wrestling belt, Conan type look. We're going to go with the big circle central piece here. And then take it around his waist, like so. And since he's got that sword, the sword has to attach, like to be, unless he was just holding it in his hand, it needs to have like a sheath that's strapped on, and those are usually attached with something that's kind of like, I think they call it a frog, which I'm not sure why they call it a frog, but well, if it's for a rapier, I know it's definitely called a frog. But basically, it's a strap here coming off the belt, maybe a leather or a metal ring, and then the rest of the strap goes back to uh, the sheath itself. And at the back, there might be another attachment back there that goes to the end of the sword to help keep it level. Um, but regardless of where it's at, I'm not entirely sure you would really see that there. I guess if it was more level, you probably would, but we'll not worry about that. Not for not for this drawing. Let me give this blade some thickness. And let's just see, how long do I really want to make it. I'm thinking maybe it should just end right around there. That would be probably plenty of blade. And of course, depending on the character and what you desire, you could make the blade really as long as you want. Okay. I'm going to add a little bit of thickness to this cross piece. And I'm going to put like a ball or a sphere or whatever right there, but I might even change that later on. For now, that just gives it some sort of a design element that we can work with. I figure the sword could be wielded two-handed, so we'll make sure that the handle is long enough to be wielded two-handed. Add a bit of a ring there, and another circle back here should do fine for now. Okay. So he is coming together, getting everything in place. Now for one of the big details, I gave him a chainmail skirt. Or not a skirt, but it's kind of like a loincloth. But we'll say it wraps from about here. It drops down behind this leg. Over here, it would be coming down. And it should end just below the knees. So we'll just kind of bring it across right here. So you really won't see any of this stuff here, because that's all behind the chain. You can figure this piece is kind of wrapping along the leg. There should be some general flow to it from that direction. We'll just do that. At the back, I'll give it a little bit more thickness there. So next, I've given him these leg armor pieces that they're basically like thigh protectors, and I guess is what you could describe them as. I'll put those in, but I'm gonna make them a little different than how I did them there. Give them just make it so they don't cover the whole leg. They're gonna, of course, have this rolled edge to them. I like to do that rolled edge on most of my armor. And they stick out a little bit more than the leg does. And let's see, we'll just kind of end it right around there. So that is a little shape there. Over here, you probably wouldn't see the armor plate because this is more the inside of the leg. But what I am going to do is put, say, a strap around this upper part of the thigh, and then another one down here towards the bottom. Those you would see. So you'd have a strap here, and okay, I think that's, yeah, it's going back in the distance. I might actually just put his knee in a little too high right there. So let's go like right here and right here. Then he's got boots, of course. Oh, here we go. Now I gave him, what was that, like 4 strapped biker boots, which obviously a medieval death would not have biker boots. But I will keep some of that design. So let's see, we've got his leg is coming out right here, and then it just kind of blends into the ground. So let me clean this up because we had all that size stuff that I erased where I had that curvy line. So let's think about the boot ending like right here, having some thickness to it. And then you've got those straps that add another little bit of thickness. But maybe it's actually like the outside of his boot that like the boot itself up until you get, for the whole shin guard is like a wraparound and strap thing. And then, the boot itself, so it's kind of like a slipper, I guess, like a slipper that has this big shin guard. It's still attached, it just, for the upper part, you adjust the tightness of it. I think that's a good way to describe it. So it won't actually have that strap texture all the way around. It's only on the outer edge, like along the outside of the leg. And then over here, just bring that straight down. And in this one, I'm going to go ahead and leave him with like tights or tight pants that just follow the form. Now going back up here to the body, I gave him this leather armor type thing, but in that one it's literally like tights where all the muscles and bones and stuff are showing through. For this one, we'll go kind of similar. I'm going to go ahead and maintain the form here, but I'm going to make it, see, I was thinking more like, I want to say like gladiators leather armor, where it has like the chest, the pecs, and the abs and stuff in it. But for this one, let's go ahead and maybe leave the pecs in it, so you would still see them. But then it's got sort of a flexible plate type design for the abdomen. So we'll just say it's like 2 chunks of leather that slide around over the top of each other to create additional layers of armor right there. And I could even carry it down under the belt, like one more piece right there that would help to protect the groin. And of course, he's got the chainmail underneath that even. So he is all armored. Now for the arms, I kind of like the flowy sleeves that I had initially, but at the same time, I did this character as a comic book character, kind of like a superhero, although not necessarily a hero. But so I'm thinking, let's stick with the gloves, but his gloves are a little bit bigger, so like the whole forearm has a glove instead of those soft gloves that I had there. Now back here, yeah, so that's all glove. Just darken that line a little bit and get rid of that thinner line back there. And then we could mix it. So what if I do give him, say, like poofy sleeves that just kind of come out and tuck into there? And then let's see, how do I want to do this? Um, they might make a little tent right here, tuck in like that. Maybe another one right up here that'll go to the bottom instead of into that one. And let's see, so this could have a bit of a curve to it. Maybe there's another one over here that's dropping down. Sweep that in a little bit. Essentially, I mean, it's always best to use a reference if you want to get things realistic. But I'm just going to kind of fake it. And yeah, that's not right at all. Um, hmm. So yeah, let's say that drops down. Then maybe it just kind of sweeps out. It should probably be less wrinkly across the top where it's following the form of the bone, but that's the wrong angle. So it should be sweeping down like this. And we could even put just a little bit of poofiness back here where that sleeve might be showing a little bit and tucking into the belt or into the glove. Yeah. All right, more details. Let me come back over here. All right. So this old one was like way before I started doing some of the stylized parts of this character. But let's see. So I'll just kind of lay out the face forms. Go ahead. I don't have my camera on. All right. So we've got some general guidelines for the face. So later on in the process of creating this character and fine tuning him, I like did something where I elongated his eye sockets. So you have your, these are not absolutely normal eye sockets because I like to give them a little bit of expressiveness when I draw them. But here he's not necessarily having too much expression. He's just kind of standing there looking out at us. But then I elongated, it's like a split in his skull along the outer edge here of his eye socket. and you won't really see a lot of it over there. Then, of course, you get the nose hole. And there is a little bit of bone back in there. How it looks exactly, it depends on basically the lighting and the angle that you see it from. Cheekbone. And bring in the mouth a little bit more like here. Try to get it fairly even. In fact, let's get zoomed in a bit more since I'm trying to be more accurate. The jawbone. And I gave him sort of a cleft chin. So I want to keep that. And get some of that there, not much there. And there is a hinge in the top of the jawbone there where it meets the skull. Let's see, eyebrow ridge, forehead. And I'm going to reduce the size of my eraser just a bit more here. Try to come in here and just tidy things up a little bit. And he's getting, his head's a little bit misshapen there. Smooth some of that out a bit more. Now, of course, the other thing you'll notice about this character is he has hair growing out of his skull, which is completely, you'd need skin there to grow your hair. But that was one of those things that I decided I wanted for this character. Now, he has a pretty intense receding hairline, too, so it kind of comes way back and swoops in right there. Just kind of lay in some of this. And then he's got some of that, like, it gets longer and longer as it goes, and it's sort of like a little bit of a crazy 80s hairdo. Okay, we can get rid of that center line, sketchy stuff there. Bring his eyebrow ridges in. Maybe a little bit of a rounded form or some forms in his forehead for his skull. And then for the teeth, I'm just going to doodle in some teeth shapes here real quick. There were times that I kind of tried experimenting with giving him pointed teeth that were kind of like fangs, uh, but I didn't really like the look of that. Alrighty, I think we're good with him for now. Let me get rid of the skull line right here. Narrow that down and cut that in. Okay. So, not bad. We're at, what are we at? 45 minutes on this doodle session. I got the character laid in. We got a whole scene all sort of set up and ready to go. Let's work on the other skull up there. Now, as you can see, I was zoomed out all the way, so this is way more sketchy. Let's go ahead and try to round this off a bit more. Okay, and go with the larger eraser because we're dealing with a big form. Alright. Still not quite even. Should be maybe a little bit more like that. That's closer. Alright. If that's the center, that would come down about like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put sort of a arc right here. Get these nose holes in here. Clean some of that out. And then let's see, I'm going to go ahead and bring this skull. It's going to be angry. So this is what I'm talking about with expressive skulls. Even though you can't, like, actual bone won't shift and whatnot. I mean, this could be just carved out of stone. And just like drawing, you can carve whatever you want as long as the rock can take it. Clean some of the scribbles out of there. Alright, let me just stroke that in with straight lines. Just hatching. Do the same basic thing over here. Okay. And then, let's see, for this one, go ahead and curve this outward like that. Try to set it up about equal on both sides. And that was not equal. Alright. Bring that little bit of a ridge in right there. Do the same thing over here. And so as we can see, everything's not quite centered. So let's cut this side in just a little bit more, bring it closer. Making things perfectly symmetrical is usually not desirable, but sometimes it is. Go ahead and give that some rounded form. Okay. And of course, that's coming way too far out. That ridge doesn't actually stick out, it travels back in space. Um, Sort of like this. And it's still even not necessarily that thick. Okay. Ah, see, that one's further over than that one. Let's try doing that. So it's not completely horrible. It kind of looks like what it's supposed to look like. Let's see. So let's go with some teeth here. And of course, if you draw the teeth perfectly outlined and everything, they're gonna look really goofy. But I'm just putting them in right now. I'm gonna give this one the canines. So the canines, they sit higher in the mouth, I believe, and then the sharp curves of them come a little bit further, coming back into some molars back here. Alrighty. And there's no lower jaw in this skull, so it's just a carved form. And then there is the lava flowing out from underneath and behind it. Okay, so we're getting there. I guess I don't need this reference anymore, but I'm going to open up something else to show you. Let's see. Okay, here's this one. This was the first time I drew my Reaper character digitally. So this was, I got an Adesso tablet, I believe, back in, I'm going to say around 2008, maybe. And so I wanted to see if I could do essentially cross-hatching and stippling and stuff like that with the tablet. And so I drew this character. So here you can see he's got those shoulder pads like what we just put in, those little leather sheath bits that are underneath. He's got this leather body armor, um, but then I gave him, like, I chopped it off here at the ribs and actually gave him a chainmail undershirt there, which is where the loincloth comes from. Um, so different things. I gave him fold over boots there, and his gloves are sort of like what we just drew. But of course, in this scene, he didn't have his scythe. Oh, and he's got just two belts that he's wearing. So no scythe, no sword. And I clicked on something, but let me see if I can find. Okay, here's a doodle. Now, this is also after I got my first digital tablet and I had Corel Painter. I think I drew this digitally, but I'm not entirely sure. And I turned it into my first digital painting, which was not going to be in this folder, but um, I'm sure it's in here. Yes. That is my very first digital painting created in what do you call it? Corel Painter. I think it was Corel Painter X. And so some of it I really like, and some of it I really don't. But I stuck with all the stuff that I had going on, the leather, doing texture stuff. Let me see what how much detail I've got in here. So, yeah, I was learning rim lighting and all kinds of other stuff. Uh, Following all kinds of tutorials, created some weird ring loop texture thing going on in there that doesn't all match up, but yeah. But I do remember I really liked that when I was done with it way back when. And one other thing. Um, so I mentioned this character was, I created him for a comic book. So this is all the way back in, 2000, I think, or maybe even a little earlier than that. Actually, let me pull the cover. Okay, so this was my second version of the first issue. And so this is from 2002. I believe I put the comic together initially in like 1999, maybe, yeah, somewhere around there. And I don't have any copies of the original first issue. I only made like 13 of them and sent them out. But yeah, so that's the character. That's his whole history. He started out as this doodle that I did in my sketchbook in probably 1997, and I made three comics out of him, and he just kind of floats around right now. I might get around to doing that again. But yeah, so let's get back to the drawing and start to figure out what I want to do here. So I'm not going to have a lot of lighting in this scene. In fact, let me go ahead and I'm thinking that the lava will be the main source of light, or I mean, and it'll probably be brighter than it ought to be. But let's go ahead and start laying in some shadow areas. And I'm just going to hatch these in because I'm not entirely sure how dark I want to go just yet. Over here, let's say this is, I'm just creating sort of a flowing shape that comes down into that area. Maybe carve this back a little bit. Yeah, and this right here as well. And we'll just hatch this in. You could always go back and break some of this out. And I'm thinking maybe I'll come back to working on this next week, depending on what happens. But this stream is where literally I'm just gonna doodle something on Saturdays, and if you join in and you suggest something or you make suggestions about what I'm doing, we'll see about incorporating those. Kind of make it an interactive type thing. But my Sunday stream is the coloring book, the fantasy themed coloring book that I am working on. And again, you could come in and chat, and I'll probably tell you a little bit about the characters that I'm putting in there. Let's see, we'll create a chunk right there. Just thinking about where this light is going to flow to, what we're going to see, and what that's going to do to our image. I want to keep it visually interesting. Is one of the big goals here. All right. So I'm thinking this should all be dark right along here. Like I said, I figure I'll probably just blend his feet right into the ground there. But we could do a lot of different things. And as far as digital goes, I think I'm only gonna, if I keep working on this, I'm only gonna bring it up to like a finished black and white render. Maybe either, I'm not sure if I want to do it with all with hatching or try to switch over to like smooth values, like a shaded pencil drawing. If I go any further with it, I'll probably do it with actual paint on canvas or paper, depending on uh, what what I decide to do with it there. But again, let's see. So this is a lava pool, and it's going to be casting the light throughout the scene. So we want to just kind of make sure that any light we do have seems to be coming from the lava. And we can have a lot of dark areas in the painting because the texture, or not the texture, but all of the rock is not that important. Um, Mainly just the roughness of it, enough to suggest that it is actually rock. Okay, that's gonna be more splash there, and maybe the splash itself just doesn't emit as much light either. Although the splash could be some of the brightest parts in the image. Alright, so I'm not real thrilled right here with the way that's coming together. It's a little weird how that looked with I want to say that part of the what do you call it? The land kind of cutting back behind that rock. And same kind of general thing here. Let's just bring this stuff together a little bit differently. And I don't really like that either. I feel like this one is curving too hard upward. Maybe more like that. Oops. And get all sketchy with the different lines. Okay. Put in some more shape right here. Then up here. I don't want to have too many shapes that just blend into each other in the darkness. So we got to think about what's going on right here with these forms. We're going to get some light there, and I'm going to take this just like so. And we'll still get those two blending together in that section, but there's some breakage there, which I think is important to maintain. And then here, I might just cut it back like that. Just enough to keep some of that separation between this piece and this area back here. here. We probably want to do the same thing. Actually, right here, what we'll do, leave that chop in a little bit more. Have this coming out. And I believe this was gonna be a whole cave, so we would just fill that whole thing in black. There we go. And as for over here, let's see, we'll have a form that comes out, and we don't want it to cross over like into that form. We want to make sure everything kind of has itself some steps. You don't want any one line to really cut too closely into becoming like one solid line throughout the whole picture. All right. Bring some of this in. And where are we at? We're at 8:15. We've been doing this for just over an hour now. And here's where we're at. So that's pretty good actually for an hour. We're just scribbling away, getting some general things going on. Let's move back to the character a little bit. So now that I've established where my light really is, I know that I mean, his hair is black anyway, but I know that we're gonna have a lot more shadow over here, and then he'll have to catch maybe some backlighting. Let's just shape this a little bit more. And then his stuff will all be a little bit darker along that rear edge, a little bit heavier line work. And I didn't bother putting his fingers in yet either. So these darker sections that I'm laying in right now are going to create some additional contrast, which will make things more interesting to look at, easier to read. Okay. And then, let's see. Yeah, so I'm going to just go ahead and carry this form just like that. I think that was really what I already intended to sketch in right there. Bring that in a little bit more. Oh, and I should have cleaned out that leg line that was in there. Now, as far as this boot goes, there should be some darkness there. Fold along here. And probably terminate right there. And that's as much as I'm going to make dark for right now. But yeah, that does help to separate him out from the rest of the background. Let's see. So we've been at for a little over an hour. I'm gonna go ahead and take a quick break. So I will be right back, and we'll probably go until about 9 o'clock here on today's stream. But then, like I said, tomorrow morning I will be back. I will be on time at 4 a.m. Eastern Time to work on the coloring book, which is on page 28. And yeah, so I'll be back in a minute. Just hold tight. Okay, I am back, and so we're gonna go ahead and finish out this hour working on the sketch that we started. And yeah, so as I said, tomorrow, Sunday morning, I will be back at about 4 a.m. to work on the coloring book, and we're gonna be working on page 28. But for right now, let's get back to the Saturday stream. All right, so we've got this doodle we've been working on for a little over an hour. It's got my character Battlereaper. He's in this lava ridden area with this strange skull fountain that's pouring out the lava. I think what I'm going to do is actually just start rendering. So let's start with the Battlereaper, and we'll let him dictate how the rest of this image is going to look, really. Um, get in the right area here. All right, so we're at 100%. Now we know the lava is down there below him, so this whole thing's going to be lit kind of like from the bottom up. I'm going to go ahead and refine this line. Okay. And this line will end up being lighter at the bottom than it is at the top because of where the light is coming from. Now that's going to curve around here. This is effectively a shaft cap, where I would normally color that in dark underneath, but this is, what do you call it? Since it's being lit from the bottom by that lava, we don't want to do that. Try to make it about equal there. We'll get rid of this hard line here. And I'm going to include, let me think, well, I'm going to put in 3 like dents right here. And these are where that thing has probably been hammered in to make it grip to the shaft. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that spike on here too. That I had in the initial one. I'm gonna make it a little different. So it's a blade. Maybe a little bit more of a sweeping curve to it. There we go. So that is one more blade on this side. And I feel like that should be a little bit bigger, just right there. And it might even have like a bit of a temper line that runs around right there. Okay. Now the side itself should have one as well, I think. And it should be back here. This is kind of like the, what do I want to call it? Let's call it the backbone of a blade. It is essentially the one point where this blade becomes the thickest. And in this case, uh, on the sides, it's at the bottom, whereas on most of your blades, it's sort of it's along the back edge, but the blade is up here at the top. This back edge is dull. And we'll maintain some of that form right there. Okay. And of course, I'm doing this whole thing on one layer. It's just one big sketch layer that we're just doodling on. Now, if I want to be like really meticulous and do a lot of things with this, I should probably break everybody out or like break out the character into his own layer, have the background on a layer, maybe have the lava on its own layer. It could even get more involved than that, but that way, like for a digital painting, I'd be able to adjust all kinds of things individually and not have to worry about messing up other stuff. But this is just a doodle, and we're just messing around. So what I'm going to do now is, actually, that is the background layer, which is like locked. I'm going to turn that into layer 0, and I'll just call it sketch. But I'm going to make a layer now, and I'm going to call this one palette. And we're only working in black and white, grayscale. So what I want though is I'm going to create a box, a rectangle, just like this. Okay, and this rectangle is black. But I'm going to go ahead and make a few of them. Say 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Alright, so that's 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Let's go one more. 11. Oops. That one went a little bit wonky. Alright. Now the reason for this, I'm going to make myself a grayscale palette so I can just work in hard tones, one for every 10%. So let's see. Can I pull grayscale on this thing? Not so much. Alright. And I can't do that. Alright. So let me go to, well, let me keep that at black. Alright, how do I do this? I'm gonna go with, which one is this? Yeah, that's the bottom one. That's 100%. This one should be 90%. So let me go with a color overlay. And yeah, when I pull that up, I don't know how to pull grayscale in this thing. Is it just brightness? Ah, here we go. So let's go with brightness of 90%. Actually, no, we want to go with brightness of 10%. Okay. So that should be a little bit lighter than the other one. It's hard to see, but it should be. Let's go this one. Color overlay. Same thing, except now we're going with a brightness of 20%. Yeah, I see it. Okay. Next one. Color overlay. Brightness of 30%. This one will be 40. Next one. Now that one's already close because it seems to want to default to 51%. We're going to make it 50. Next one is going to be 60. Just going through, doing this thing. There's probably a faster way to do it, but I'm literally going to turn this into a layer that's just a palette, and it's going to be grayscale. So we're at 70% there, right? Yep, almost done. 80%. But this way I can literally pick a swatch of gray for the value that I want instead of having to worry about like whether I'm getting uh, an actual gray or putting some color into it, that kind of thing. Okay, one more time. This one is 100% brightness. There we go. So that's white. Okay. And then all of those, all I have to do is merge them together. And this is my palette. And just for shits and giggles, let me put a drop shadow on it. There we go. So now you can see every one of those swatches just standing out against the background. And I can adjust the size of it as needed, but we'll leave it like that for right now. Now, as far as my rendering, if I do it on the same sketch layer, we get into the issue of merging things. Maybe I don't want to merge, and if I don't do it on that layer, then we have the issue of my lines staying on top. But let's go ahead and we'll start by setting the lines to multiply. And what if I turn them down to say 50%? Put a new layer underneath of that. And we're going to call this one my render 1. And I'm going to go ahead and flood fill that with white. So we have a default of white. So now all my lines have been grayed out a little bit, but they also multiply. So anytime that we do something, it should darken those, or those lines should darken up whatever I put down, essentially. But let's go ahead and start here with, let's see, 10, 20. Let's go with 30%. And I've turned my brush into 100% flow, so I should just be able to, like, whatever I do, it's essentially just going to paint, and it'll paint smooth. I'm not going to get overlapping strokes that, like, build up. So I'm literally just, like, flat coloring. And I can also use this to just kind of go along and paint this thing in, paint in the metal of this scythe, and I can flood fill once I've gone around the whole area, as long as I didn't miss anything. Yeah. And it leaves that little bit of a line, so just kind of track along there. And I'm not too worried right now about staying in the lines and getting it perfect. Just want to get that, kind of get some stuff laid in. Now I'm going to go with 10% for the bone, like where his face is. Same thing. Doesn't have to be perfect right now. We're just loosely scribbling things in. Alright, now his hair, I'm going to go with, say, what's that, like 70%, I think? So that's pretty dark. it's when I start mixing these values in an area that we'll actually start to create like a black and white render. But for right this moment, I'm going to lay in some of these flat values. And of course, once you've got an area without all that contrast, you can start to see the lines showing through because, like I said, they are on multiply, so they will add just a little bit more darkness to the value that I lay down at this stage. The only exception to that being when I lay down full black, you can't get any blacker than black, so that will stay. I'm going to go ahead and use this right here. And that added contrast makes things a little bit easier to see and makes it a little bit more visually appealing too. Alright, so let's go with, say, 50% for his metallic armor. And again, not worried too much about going over the lines right now. Just get the general stuff in there. Yeah, metal leg piece. Okay. I don't think his belt is metal. I think that's going to be leather. Oh, but I should put these spikes in with like that 50%. And they'll probably end up getting popped up a lot higher than that. So let's see, that's 70, 60. You know what, let's go with 40% for the leather. Just a, no. We'll go 60. A little bit darker, not lighter. So the leather is darker than the metal, but lighter than his hair. And this neck piece is leather. Okay. Now the cloth that we gave him for his sleeves, I'm not so sure about that just yet. Alright, let's flood fill that. Alright, his pants will be leather and his belts are leather, so that's all the same color right there. Not color, value. Although technically it is sort of a color. Just riding along here. I'm going to go ahead and carry that right into this area. I'm not going to bother with the whole thing. We'll just do it right here. let's go right up this staff to about there. And the sheath of the sword should also be leather, so that'll get filled in. Okay, and then follow the staff down into that shadow. I think that'll work. Yep, okay. Sometimes you miss a spot and you hit that flood fill and it just fills the whole canvas. And then you gotta undo. Alrighty. Oh, gloves are leather too. And as I said, we haven't even put his fingers in yet. I'm leaving that for later. Okay. Let's see. And then his chain should be the same darkness as his other metal. And if I do a line right here, this is one of those areas where maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Let's see. Okay, it worked. I figured it would be trapped by those other values, but wasn't 100% sure. Okay. I'm thinking for his sleeves. Let's see, we went with 60, 50. For his sleeves, let's do 40. That is lighter, right? I think so. And maybe we'll do 40 for the metal on this cross piece. And the ring here. And that. And let's go like 70 for the handle. So let's see what we got here. Yeah, so he's standing out from the scene. Got a little bit of visual interest going on there. Alright, and this is the 60, so let's go back to the 50 for the rest of the staff, the size shaft. And that's where you start to see that, you know, the different values interacting with each other. I can do some kind of painterly stuff here, even though we're just working grayscale. Okay. Since I have him in, let's do something a little bit crazier here. Let's go with, say, yeah. Let me just flood fill the whole background with this dark color. And then what I want to do is come back to, say, like 50%. Let's go to right here. And this I'm going to use on the lava, including the splashes that I sketched out, because I want to bring those out as kind of a bright point. Alright. Oh, and if I don't follow that, it's gonna do something we don't want to do. All right. And of course, as you recall from what we were just doing, 50% is not that bright. But now it appears to be pretty bright by comparison to the background. All right, now over here, we're going along this form. Just outlining where the lava flow is. And this will give us a real good idea of whether this composition is going to work like that or if we need to make adjustments to where the light is. Okay, come along the shore, coming around here. And let's see, is that one gonna work? Yep, cool. And of course, let's go with, so that was just about 50%. Gonna come to a little bit brighter here and make it bigger. So basically I want this lava to have a bit of a glow to it. And let's see, we might do some of that right here as well. Oops. That's what I was talking about. I missed a spot right there. And then it wanted to go outside of it. And I don't think I want to do that back there. Not with that much difference. But we'll do this one. This one's not quite as bright. That'll still let us have some glow back there without getting too crazy. We're going to come in just a little bit more here. And again, everything I'm doing right now is just preliminary. We will fine-tune things as we go. Let me fill that. And one last time with the actual white. And maybe we'll do the same thing here. Now, this is the splash. I'm going with white there. And I don't want to do it up there, though. Up there, I'm going to use the next tone to give it a little bit. And then there's this. Very scribbly. And now, since I am still at this point, I could just pull colors or values right out of the picture instead of having to worry about finding them on my palette. But once we get into actually blending values, that's when you really want to use the palette and not be picking out of the image unless you need to for like really tight blending. Okay. So we got a nice general thing going on here. And then, oops, wrong area. There we go. All right. And so that was my 50%. Let's go with something a little bit less bright. It's only a little less bright. I'm just going to paint in that skull back there. So now that stands out a little bit more. And then something a little bit less bright than that. I'm going to go ahead and lay in the cloud area. Okay. So let's see how we're looking. Okay. Got some flow going, got a character, got that thing in the background. Yeah, it's not horrible. But it definitely needs some additional value, some more contrast in tighter areas to start making things more visually interesting. This lava will look more, oh, I hate it when I do that. I hope that's not going off too loud in the stream. Uh, but yeah, so like the glow effect of the lava, not really doing anything right now. But it should a little bit later on when we start getting some more contrast and blending things a little bit more gently. And is this here? No, it is now. Okay. So let's see. Yeah, generally, I think this has some potential, and I think it could be pretty cool. And I might even do a real painting of it at some point, although I think I might refine some elements of it. I'm not entirely sure I like this flat looking ridge at the top. I feel like I need a little something different out here. In fact, maybe what we need is to, instead of having this skull straight on, maybe it should be more to the side and coming down. That could be more interesting. Uh, but yeah, so I am going to go ahead and end the stream for today. I'm going to be working on my coloring book probably for most of the rest of the day, getting the layout done for page 28, so I know what I'm doing tomorrow. But again, uh, tomorrow morning, 4 a.m., I will be live on Twitch, and I will be working on the coloring book. So come hang out and see what's going on. And then next Saturday, I'll come back to this drawing again, and we'll see what we can do next Saturday, starting at 4 a.m. But yeah, from now on, my streams are on Saturday and Sunday, and I should be able to make those stream times because I don't have to work on Saturday and Sunday. But yeah, the rest of the week, I'm not even gonna try anymore because that just turned into a mess, and I haven't been able to make it to anything. All right, so that's the end of today. Thanks for coming, and I will see you next.